Welcome back to another episode of Transform Your Workplace, and I've got Nicole Blevins with me. Nicole, it's so good to have you back.
I'm excited to be here.
We're going to do something today that I don't think I've ever done on this show, and we're going to do like a Mythbusters episode about HR. So you
Yeah.
put together a list of HR myths, and then I'm going to do my best to guess true or false, and then you'll give me some analysis on why it's either true or false.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to do this. There are so many different myths and things out there about HR, and so I'm excited to get into some of these and see what you think and what the audience thinks, and then we can talk a little bit more about the why. So I'll jump right in with the first one. So tell me if you think this is true or false, Brandon. HR's job is to protect the company, not the employees.
Hmm. I'm going to go with false. I think
Yeah.
they're more of a neutral, or they're supposed to be
Yeah.
neutral at least.
Yeah, no, great job. This is something that I hear out there all the time. Like HR's not your friend, right? HR is here to protect the company, not the employees. And the HR does have a responsibility to protect the company, right, from any legal risk. But the best of HR is also there as a strategic partner, right? We want to advocate for employees. We want to build an effective culture. And so the two of those are not mutually exclusive, right? We can have both, and HR really does want to support both while making sure the organization is doing the right thing and staying out of trouble as well.
Makes sense.
So yeah, good one. All right. The next one, true or false, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trick.
that can't be. It's a trick question.
It is.
That can't be true because it did, like something did happen. But
Right.
to cover your basis, you'd probably need to document it if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean technically that's false, right? If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. But that's not true because it could happen. It just might be that you don't have it in writing, right? Something can actually happen without it being written down. But it is a critical component in HR, right? It is important to document conversations, verbal conversations, constructive conversations that you're having for accountability purposes, right? And to protect you from legal liability if there's employee relations challenges or things going on. So not documenting doesn't make something go away. And so you still want to make sure that you're documenting as much as possible.
That's a good
So a
one.
little bit of a trick question, but that is a common thing we say in HR, right? If you didn't document it, it didn't happen. But it's not necessarily the reality, right? All right, next one. True or false? Managers are responsible for culture, not HR.
Well, everybody's in charge of
Yeah,
culture. Isn't that right?
exactly. Yes. Culture is everyone's responsibilities. So HR is going to guide and influence and try to shape the culture, but it does really live and breathe in how managers are interacting with their employees and reinforcing that culture every day. So managers have a really big role, but everyone does, right? Individually as employees, we have a role in that as well. So yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next one, true or false? Employees are entitled to review their personnel file in many states.
Ooh, I do not know compliance the way many of you technical HR people do. I'm not every state is created equal. I'm going to say false.
Okay, yeah. So the question was, or the statement was, in many states. So in some states, meaning employees are entitled to review their personnel files. So it's actually true
True.
because
Okay.
it's in many states, not every state. If it said in every state, that would have been false.
I thought it was saying every state. So
Yes.
that
No,
makes
good.
sense.
Good.
Many
So
states.
it was a bit of a trick question as well. So I did try to trick you. But yeah, there are many states, so like California, Oregon, for example, that do require employers to give employees access to their personnel files upon request so they can review it. But it does vary in multiple states, and that right doesn't exist in every state, but in some it does. And when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Employees should know what's in their personnel file, right? And what type of documentation is in there. So good. All right, next one. True or false? If someone's classified as salaried, they're exempt from overtime. I put some real
That's
tricky ones in here.
gosh. Yeah, I'm not a payroll person. True.
So good guess. So most of the time, if someone is salaried, they're exempt from overtime. But just having someone be salaried doesn't automatically make them exempt from overtime because it's based off of the roles and responsibilities that the person does that defines whether or not they're going to be exempt or non-exempt from. So
That's a tricky one.
it is a tricky one, and it's a common misclassification issue of where like employers or people think like, oh, I'm going to make them salaried and so they're exempt from overtime. But really just making someone or deciding that they're going to be paid on a salary basis doesn't mean they're truly classified as exempt and should be. So another tricky one. I'm
Yeah,
intentionally trying to
yeah,
trick
good
you,
one.
Brandon, so it's okay.
Not a good test taker, so I'm failing.
That's all right. All right. Next one. HR should be involved in every employee issue.
Issue.
It's pretty
No, I'm gonna
broad.
say false.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah, false.
Why would you say that? Like,
Yeah.
what would be your reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, the reason is HR really should empower and train managers to be able to handle many issues on their own and being really a strategic support system for them. Because when you think about it, if you had HR in every like interaction or issue or mistake or thing that came up for you, how would you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I feel like that's Toby from The Office. He's
Yeah,
involved in every issue. That's why HR gets a bad rap sometimes.
right.
Is because of that.
Exactly. That is, yeah. I mean, and if HR is just kind of inserted in any issue that came up, I would feel as an employee like, who is this person that I don't know very well? Why are they necessarily involved in every conversation that I'm having with my manager about different things? There certainly are things that HR should be involved in, right? Like harassment concerns or discrimination or really large issues, but there might be different day-to-day performance things or constructive feedback or things that come up that a manager needs to deal with that HR's role is really to support and empower them to be able to do that effectively and really be involved in those bigger things that you might need some extra support on.
That's great.
So good job. All right, true or false? You can't tell employees about a RIF or a reduction in force until the day it's happening.
Oh gosh, another technical compliance-oriented one.
Yeah,
I'm
bit of
gonna
a tricky one as well.
say false.
Yeah, good job. So yeah, good job. You're like, yes. So this is a little bit of a tricky one as well because I think a lot of employers are like, oh, if we're going to terminate someone or let them go, like we communicate that and then they're gone that same day. But when you're having larger organization changes or reductions in force like this, while the timing and confidentiality of the decision early is really important, that transparent or early communication with employees or leaders and managers about that can help like prevent panic, build trust, and allow the employee as well as the organization to plan for what's coming up. And so you can give the employee notice. In a lot of cases, it's good and helpful to do that. It's difficult to communicate the message whether you do it the day of or earlier, right? It's going to be difficult. And there are like risks and challenges, right? They're the biggest concern that I hear from like employers about potentially giving like a notice period like that is, well, are they going to work, during this period? Like that's a concern. And yeah, absolutely. If you just heard some news that you were going to lose your job in the near future, your motivation might be a little bit different, right? You might feel a little different, but also you might appreciate the opportunity to have more time to start looking because it's difficult, right, in the job market to find something. And so having that time and really being able to do a good job and leave a good transitional period to where you've got good references and support systems as you go into that next opportunity is really helpful as well. So good one. All right. Next one, true or false, severance is not required if you lay someone off.
True.
True. Yeah, exactly. It's not legally required in most cases unless there's like a contract or like a union agreement or something like that. But it is a good practice, right? It's helpful in layoff situations that you offer some kind of severance or support in that.
Yep.
So
Makes sense.
good job. All right. True or false? You should avoid apologizing during a RIF or layoff.
I mean, this doesn't sound like a hard and fast law or anything, but
No.
I don't think you need to.
It's like a best practice.
Let's see. State the question again?
You should avoid apologizing during a RIF or layoff.
gonna say false.
Okay. Okay.
I think we need to be human.
Yeah, it is good to be human. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So this one I actually put true. You should avoid apologizing. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why. So when you like apologize, it seems like you or the organization are like second guessing your business decision of like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's like you're not confident in the decisions that you had to make. And it also can make the receiver of that information feel bad for you in a way, like feel like, "Oh, like why are you sorry? I'm sorry." Like what it can be impactful to the person of like, wait, this is about me, not you. And it can have the effect of like, wait, why are they apologizing to me for having to do this? So you still want to be empathetic and acknowledge like this is a difficult situation. I understand this is hard news and like show appreciation and be empathetic, like you said, but apologizing for having to do this or make the decision
Yeah.
can have the opposite effect of like not being confident in the decision and having to second guess that.
Is weak.
Yeah.
It's like apologizing in an email versus saying like, thank you for your flexibility, thank you for like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
So
Okay, thank you for taking me to school there.
of course, no, it's these are tricky ones. And again, some of them are like best practice, not hard and fast kind of rule or compliance or anything like that. All right. Another tricky one. They're all tricky. I know. What did I do to you? I'm sorry. True or false? You can't lay off someone who's on protected leave.
True.
Okay. So
You're laughing at me already.
I'm not, no. Well, here's the thing, Brandon. Like, these are myths or like misconceptions for a reason. Like, there's a lot of employers out there that think, and when you think about it, it makes sense. Like, you can't lay off someone who's on protective leave.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's
if there's a job elimination or something,
right.
then maybe that in that case it'd be false, because if we don't have a job for you anymore, even though you're in protected
Right.
leave. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay.
Yeah, some of these are like semantics of the word. Like you can't lay off someone. Well, you can, right? Like you can do
You've
anything.
been out of business and you
Right.
don't have any jobs available. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You can. So I mean, it's certainly risky. It's not a great thing to do, but it's not impossible. It's not something you can't do. But what's important is the reason for the layoff has to be clearly justifiable and part of kind of documented business decisions or needs unrelated to the leave, right? You can't lay someone off just because of the fact that they're on leave, right? That you can't do. But you can if you are going out of business, right? Or you're having to do a position elimination and someone that's on leave happens to be one of the positions that you have to eliminate because it's based off of loss of funding or whatever the specific business decision is. So yeah, these are all trick questions, Brandon.
You're right.
I'm
It's all
sorry.
about semantics and the way you're.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. True or false? Employees can discuss their pay with each other.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, very good. True. Yeah. So I know like historically, right there, it was taboo to have
Yeah.
discussions about pay in the workplace, but actually under the National Labor Relations Act, employees have a right to discuss their wages and working conditions with each other, and employers can't legally prohibit those discussions in most cases, especially whether they're in a union or not. A lot of people think like, oh, my workforce is not unionized, so I can prohibit something like this. But the reason for the law is to allow people to collaborate and talk about their wages and working conditions so that they can come together and potentially unionize if they wanted to. And so having rules or policies or requirements that prohibit that can violate that law. All right, good job. So just two more. I'll only make you suffer through two more. So the next one is true or false. Annual performance reviews are enough to manage performance. Yeah, true. Very good. Oh, well, it's false. You are true in what you said. You're right. But yes, the answer is false. So, yeah, annual reviews are an important part of process to give feedback, right, and manage performance. But really effective performance management is ongoing, right? You want to have regular feedback, coaching, conversations with your employee throughout the year. And that's really how you effectively manage performance. It's not just by checking the box and doing that annual performance review.
Yep.
So good. All right, last one, true or false. Exit interviews are a waste of time because people don't tell the truth.
Say false. I'd rather have the feedback than nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. while like not everyone's going to open up in an exit interview process, right? There's going to be people that maybe don't tell the truth or maybe aren't comfortable sharing a lot. Exit interviews are really useful in like uncovering patterns or trends on reasons why people are leaving or feedback that they might have about their manager or leadership that you can kind of aggregate and look at over time. And so it's really about creating like a safe and neutral, comfortable environment or space for people to be able to fully give their honest feedback. But that honest feedback, when we do get it, is really valuable and important to making different changes and figuring out future planning and how we can improve the work environment.
Nicole, that was
Yeah,
a lot of
good
fun.
job.
Thanks for quizzing
Yeah,
me. And I
you're
learned a lot from this. So let's do it again at some point and maybe even try to stump me even further. But those
yes.
are some tricky ones. I guess for many HR professionals, they probably would know that. I'm not an HR professional by training or education, but
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from you and from other people on the podcast and all that. So I appreciate doing this. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate going through it with you. Thanks for being a good sport. And yeah, excited to keep moving forward.
Thanks for coming on.